This video is all about solving multi-step equations with variables on both sides of the equation. So our goal is that I can solve equations with variables on both sides. First, let's start with the review exercises. Go ahead and pause the video and try these on your own. Then play the video when you're ready to check your answers. The directions say evaluate each expression. So we're doing -2 to the 4th power. So remember that means a -2 times a -2 times a -2 times a -2. So -2 times -2 is 4. And a -2 times a -2 again is 4. And then we can multiply those two together. 4 times 4, which is equal to 16. So your answer for this is 16. Let's look at number 2 now. This one, it looks like we want to use order of operations to simplify this expression. So first I'm going to start with parentheses. So first I'm going to start with what's inside the parentheses. So first we have that exponent 1 squared. 1 squared is 1. So I'm going to rewrite everything. We have -6 times 4 minus 1 to the 3rd power plus 8 divided by 4. I'm going to continue with what's inside the parentheses. 4 minus 1 is 3. So we have 3 to the 3rd power plus 8 divided by 4. So I'm just rewriting everything. 3 to the 3rd power means 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. So we have -6 times 27 plus 8 divided by 4. -6 times 27 is -162 plus 8 divided by 4. Next we're going to do division. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we have -162 plus 2. And -162 plus 2 is going to be equal to -160. Alright, so let's look at solving multi-step equations. First thing that you want to do is use the distributive property if it's inside the equation. Second is to combine like terms. Third step is move all the variable terms onto one side of the equation and all the constants onto the other side of the equation. And the fourth step is to solve for the variable. So let's try and solve one of these equations now. Let's look at number 1. We have 4x plus 2 is equal to 3x plus 7. First, I'm going to draw that line straight down that equal sign so that we can see our left and right side of the equation. So first, we're looking for a distributive property. I don't see that in this equation. Next, we're looking for combining like terms. I also do not see that on this equation. Now remember, in order to combine like terms, the like terms have to be on the same side of the equation. So even though I see a 4x and a 3x, those are not on the same side of the equation, so I cannot combine those like terms right now. Okay, step 3. Move variable terms to one side of the equation and the constants on the other side. Let's start with that. So first, I like to move all the variables onto one side of the equation first, and then move all the constants onto the other side of the equation second. Now the easiest way to do this is to find the variable term that is smaller, that has a smaller number, and move that onto the other side. So between 4x and 3x, 3x is smaller, so I'm going to move the 3x over by the 4x. So the opposite of a positive 3x is a negative 3x. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides of the equation. 3x minus 3x is equal to 0, so that cancels. And now let's solve the rest of it. 4x minus 3x is 1x. I'm going to bring down the plus 2. I'm going to bring down my equal sign, and I'm going to bring down my negative 7. Next, I'm going to move all of the constants onto the other side of the equation away from my variable. So now I have x plus 2 equals negative 7, so I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. I'm going to bring down my x. Positive 2 and a negative 2 equals 0, so that cancels. I'm going to bring down my equal sign, and then negative 7 minus 2 is a negative 9. So my answer is x equals a negative 9. Now let's check our answer by substituting negative 9 back into our equation. We have 4 times a negative 9 plus 2 is equal to 3 times a negative 9 minus 7. 4 times a negative 9 is a negative 36 plus 2. Now I'm going to also simplify the right side of the equation at the same time. 3 times a negative 9 is a negative 27 minus 7. Negative 36 plus 2 is a negative 34. And negative 27 minus 7 is a negative 34. Since both sides equal each other, that means I solved it correctly, and my answer is x equals negative 9. Let's try number 2 now. Now number 2 is this huge, long, big equation. So let's just take it step by step. First step is distributive property. So I'm going to distribute the negative 2, and I'm going to distribute the negative 3. First, I'm going to rewrite everything else. 10p plus 9 minus 11 minus p is equal to, now let's start distributing. Negative 2 times a positive 2p is a negative 4p. Negative 2 times 4 is a negative 8. Negative 3 times 2p is a negative 6p. And negative 3 times a negative 2 is a positive 6. Okay, next step, I'm going to combine like terms. I'm going to draw that line straight down from our equal sign. Let's combine all the like terms on the left side of the equation. So I have 10p and a negative 1p. 10p minus 1p is 9p. Then I'm going to combine the numbers. 9 and a negative 11, so 9 minus 11 is a negative 2. I'm going to bring down my equal sign. Now let's combine like terms on the right side of the equation. We have negative 4p and negative 6p, so negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10p. Then we have negative 8 plus 6. Negative 8 plus 6 is a negative 2. Now we're going to move on to step 3. We're going to move all the variable terms onto one side of the equation. So I like to find the smaller variable term and move it over on the other side. So we have a 9p and a negative 10p. Since negative 10p is smaller, I'm going to move that over to the left side of the equation. So the opposite of negative 10p is a positive 10p. So I'm going to add 10p to both sides. So now we have 19p minus 2 is equal to negative 2. Next, we're going to continue to isolate the variable by adding 2 on both sides of the equation. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so that cancels. Now we have 19p is equal to negative 2 plus 2, which is also 0. Next, we have 19 times p, so the opposite inverse operation is to divide, so I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 19. 19 divided by 19 is 1, so we have 1p is equal to 0 divided by 19 is 0.